The thing with money is that we're not taught money in school, and it's not talked about at home. And for most of us, we carry a lot of subconscious and unconscious beliefs and mindsets and narratives around money. So the reason why so many families, including maybe many of us, have financial problems, or we're just not getting ahead or feeling like we're getting ahead, is because of two things fundamentally. And the first thing is like what I just said, is that we have money limitations, these limiting beliefs about money that are created from our childhood, from what our parents said about money, how safe of a subject or unsafe of a subject that it was, what the words they planted in our head, like money doesn't grow on trees. In many cases, money wasn't safe. There was a lot of money trauma. Maybe it's the reason why our parents fought or maybe got divorced. I know my parents, when they were divorced, they would constantly talk about each other about it around money. Like if your dad would just pay child support, and my dad, if I talked to him, like, your mom is never enough. It's never grateful. So I heard lots of arguments and my parents like using each other and beating each other up with money. So those things get planted when we're young. And we have to clean that stuff up, because those mindsets create these limitations and these beliefs that no matter how hard we try, money never quite works out. So that's always one part of money that we want to work on. That's something I teach in my Curbs course, as we start working on the money piece, the money mindset piece. And I'm actually going to be bringing in a lot more breaking mindset, money limitation mindsets into my programs this next class, because I think there's a lot more work we can all do there. But the second reason why we struggle with money, regardless of how much money we make, is because we don't understand it. It's not taught in school, so we don't understand that it has all of these principles and these rules and these laws, that if we're ignorant of these, and we're illiterate when it comes to what I call reading and writing of money at the most basic level, money just doesn't turn out, because we're unknowingly, we're betraying these financial principles. And so that's what I work to do every day between, my master classes and soon to be YouTube and my courses, is to teach money mindset and money, and the principles of money and the skill of money, so that we can get off this paycheck to paycheck hamster wheel. So what are we going to talk about today? Again, if you've been to other master classes, I've done marriage and money, so that's a fun one. And we're putting that up on YouTube. So if you want to address some of these things with a partner, that's a really great master class. I've done the Curbs master class, which is talking about the 4 principles of money. And I've done the business planning masterclass for just the business. And now this is the ESI masterclass. So 4 masterclasses. All right. And I invite you really over time, when I do these masterclasses, keep showing up to these, because even though I'm approaching money through a different lens or from a different angle, you'll start to hear the overlap. And the more you listen and the more you just listen to the master classes or watch my content, even my podcast, you'll start to see how all these pieces come together, and voila, all of a sudden you'll really understand money. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can successfully go to presentation mode here. All right, let's see, present. All right, now I'm going to see if this works. All right, so yay, success number 1. Let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about a few slides, and then I'm going to go back to the whiteboard here. Hopefully it's going to be close enough so you guys can see what I'm writing. All right, so this is called Earn, Spend, and Invest. And the name of this is very intentional, because during our 40 years of working as adults, from 25 to 65 or so, or 30 to 70, or whatever our 40-year range is, that's business. When it comes to money and how we make money, that's called a career. So we have different careers. We're either a career, however we make money. If we're a business owner and our career's in business, if we work for a company, But our career ultimately is our 40 years of making money. And that's pretty typical. We start at 25, kind of start historically easing out at 65, like I said, 30 to 70. But there's this like 40-year window of when we're working. And it's working to make money, right? But it's important. So everything I say, like these are really important concepts to think about. So we have this 40-year journey of our working career to make money. Now, during that same 40-year time period, we all work for the most of us, even, we work from age 25 to 65. And like I said, when we're working to earn money. So when I say earn, spend, invest, that's what I mean. We're earning money during that 40-year career. Now, what many people do then is we spend money during that 40-year career. We get our first job out of college, 25, and we're spending money. And what do we spend our money on during those 40 years? We spend our money on life. That's what we spend our money on. And what is life? Life is everything we do. It's our house, it's our cars, it's our groceries, it's our utilities, it's our vacations, it's our education. It's everything that life is has to be paid for. So we earn all this money during our 40 years, and then during 40 years we spend it all. And for most of us, that's all it is. And so what I call the common sense of money, is I earn money and I spend it. I earn money and I spend it. And that's pretty simple, right? We make money and we spend it. But what we don't understand is that there's so much more to money than just earning and spending. But when that's all we're doing in the context of money, we're not getting ahead. And how you get ahead and have that feeling of getting ahead. What getting ahead means is that we have some abundance, we have extra. Getting ahead means we're building some wealth. It's the movement from financial survival to financial stability. So usually at the beginning, we're in financial survival. So many of us might be in financial survival. So we go from financial survival, then we go to financial stability. And financial stability means like, hey, things are working, but I'm still kind of month to month and I'm not getting ahead. So then the next area we want to go to is what's called financial success and surplus. And that's when we start to have extra money and we've got our rainy day fund and we feel like, hey, if something happens, I'm not going to be out on the streets type of feeling. And then ultimately, we get to a place where we have financial prosperity. And that's where we hit our wealth numbers and we really have wealth creation. So it's a journey over these 40 years. We're usually more or less surviving at 25, more or less. But then our goal over time is to go down that spectrum, is to get away from survival and create that stability and then financial success and ultimately financial prosperity. Again, over this 40 years. So how we do that is we learn how to earn, we learn how to spend, and then ultimately we can't leave this third part of the equation that's called invest. All right, so that's why we call this earn, spend, and invest. Let's see if I can move the slide. Okay, so a little bit about me. Most of you guys know my story at this point, but I still like to tell it. And the reason why I tell this story is, first of all, it's hard for me to tell my story. Like all my, my teachers say, you have to tell your story. Don't just teach. The story is important. And I'm like, okay. But I always want it to be about my students. I don't want it to be about me. So even though it's difficult for me to talk about myself this way, the reason why I want to share my story is because my story is proof that what I'm teaching works. And that's all you have to take away from my story. The little picture here, for those of you that haven't seen it, that's me in the corner with in front of a trailer home. And that's where I started. And so I call it the rags story. Like I did start in a rags environment. That is a trailer home that's part of a trailer park. And that's where it started. And it was not only just a a situation where there wasn't money. There was alcoholism, two alcoholic parents. There was a lot of fighting. There was, things being thrown against the walls. I remember as a little girl that my father would come home drunk and he would be talking to himself in the kitchen. And I was so little, I didn't know that drunk people talk to themselves, and I'd be looking around trying to find out like what he was, who he's talking to. And I'd crawl on the floor and couldn't find anybody. And anyway, but he'd leave the kitchen a total mess because he'd come to the kitchen, he'd wake me up probably 1 or 2 in the morning, come in and he'd eat, he's hungry because he was drunk, and he'd leave the kitchen a disaster. So when he would go to bed, I would go in there as a little girl and clean up the kitchen because he and my mother would fight with him, and they'd get in these huge arguments because he'd leave the kitchen dirty. So I'd clean it up in order to, keep a fight from breaking out. So things like that, just lots of stories like that, one after another. And then both of my parents divorced, and they both went their separate ways, and they left us kids alone. And my brother went with a cousin, and I, at the age about 13, just took care of myself. So that was the beginnings of my story, and that's why I call it the rag story. So many of you can relate in that environment, in the household environment, because there was no money. It was fought about all the time. It was a very unsafe subject. And I grew up with a lot of fear around money, and a lot of shame around money. And the shame around money came from the fact that since I didn't have any and I went to school, I was made fun of regularly because I was on the other side of the tracks. So it was just so much shame because I'd wear high waters, and I'd make, that we got from hand-me-downs, and then kids would call me names like high water Krisstina. So you can see we all have our version of the story, but it's just like this money thing was really built into my psychology, and being afraid of it and shamed of it, and all the things. So that's where it started. The good side out of that story is that I had to work for money to have any, because my parents literally gave me $0 from the time I was 13. And so I had to figure it out. So that was the good side of that story, because I got very creative and became very entrepreneurial at a young age. And somehow got myself to college, got a nice accounting and finance degree because I wanted to study money, because I wanted to get good at it, because I didn't want to be poor anymore. And after that, I got into this thing called real estate, and real estate made a lot of money. I did very well. I was top producer in everything. I made more income than I ever thought was imaginable. And I bought everything that a poor kid could never afford. And it seemed to be working, except behind closed doors of that marriage it was pretty ugly. There are fights about money all the time. It started to resemble what I grew up with, even though I wanted something different. And my kids would be scared based on the arguments because they were loud and they were ugly. And we fought about money all the time. And the harder I worked, I was a primary wage earner, and the harder I worked, the more fights we had. And it just seemed the more money we had, the worse the fights got. So it was very confusing. So it was so confusing. Like I thought money was going to solve all my problems, and here it's causing me more problems. And I'm kind of I thought money would get me out of the situation I grew up with, yet here I had so much more money and I was in the same situation I grew up with. So again, just confusion. Like I just thought more money would solve problems, and here I had more. So that marriage ended. And it ended in a very ugly way, sadly. And what do people who have money do when they get divorced? They fight over every last dollar. And during that fight, I lost everything. So I mean, when I lost everything, I lost the house, I lost the cars, I lost basically my job, I lost my income, and it was really scary. And now I'm a single mom, and I have no money. I have not only no money, but I come to find out there were credit cards during the marriage I wasn't aware of, and tax liens, and I was a primary wage earner. So the nice court said, Krisstina, you can have it all. So that was that situation. And it was, I call it just crisis. I lost everything. I lost myself. I lost my confidence. I lost my ability to make money. And it was at that moment where I just was thinking through this, and I thought, how did I make all that money? And I've wound up here in the situation where I literally don't have enough money to turn on the lights. to pay the deposit on the electrical bill so that my kids and I can have a place to live. How did I wind up here? And it was that question that sent me on this journey of, well, just like when I was 13 and I had to figure it out in order to survive, Krisstina, you're 30. And now, like when you were 13, you're going to have to figure it out in order to survive. And that was that intersection where I realized that there's got to be something more to this money game that meets the eye. And I made it my life commitment to study money. Now, the irony of that I got an accounting and finance degree in college, and I got that because I thought that would help me be good with money. And come to find out, even that degree didn't teach me anything about money. So the more that you listen to my teachings, the more all this is going to make sense. But since then, since I was about 35, I've been just very intentional about educating myself around this thing called money and finance and wealth creation. So one final piece of the story, I learned money, spent a decade learning business and money. And I mean, I was a student of it and I was all in and I had mentors and I had masterminds and I did programs and went back to school for it. All of that was great. And I created huge success. I actually became famous in my industry and it was all looking really good. I was pinnacle of success. I was the Gary Vee of real estate. And then I got sick. I got so sick that I spent about a year and a half fighting for my life. And during that time, I lost everything again. So I spent all that time learning and kind of being good with money and all the things, but I didn't take care of myself because I was always trying to chase the money and chase success and chase everything that's out there. And it literally almost killed me. And what I realized, it took me a decade to build all that up, and it took about 3 months for it all to break down. When my body quit working, my business collapsed and it took all of my money to try to save my life. And I wound up in a place again of basically starting over with zero. Now, the difference is that even though I lost it all, I knew what to do to build it again. So after that, I got my health back and I started over in business. And here we are today in Park City, Utah, financially free, rebuilt everything and built it 3 times as fast the next time, still growing. And when I say financial freedom, that means the money for my assets pays for the cost of my lifestyle. And it affords me the opportunity to do what I love, which is to teach this thing called money. And the great thing, kind of the great thing about that story, I guess, is now I'm happily married to an amazing man, Brad. And I have 2 amazing children with a relationship with them, a beautiful place, and a really good life. So it's been a journey to get here. It's not been a straight line up, but at the end of the day, what I can say that I'm really good at is this thing called money. So I'm here to teach it to you so that you can get good at it too. And it doesn't take super smarts. You don't have to be great at math. You don't have to love spreadsheets. You didn't have to be a straight A student. All you have to do is do what I teach. So it's actually that simple. And I'll end by saying that I think my story is a proof that if I can do it, everybody can. All right. So that's the story about me. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the money myth. And the money myth, there's a lot of money myths. The number one money myth that I talk about in my money principles course and masterclass is that the answer, and let me know if you've thought this before, if you have this belief, just put in yes in the chat if you have this belief. The answer to all of my money problems is to make more money. So just put in the chat if you kind of believe that to be true. The answer to all my money problems is to make more money. And the reason why I ask you to do that because I think what we'll realize is we kind of all have been programmed to think that. Now, what's the ripple effect of that belief? The ripple effect of that belief is if the answer to my money problems is to make more money, what do we typically have to do to make more money? We have to work harder. That's still not enough money. So what do? We have to work harder. And that goes on and on and on forever And no matter how hard we work or how many hours we put in, we ultimately just get to a place of not getting ahead, feeling very frustrated and burnout, and any number of feelings that comes as part of that experience. So the truth is, the answer to my money problems and your money problems is not in making more income. The answer to your money problems is to get to the bottom of your mindset and break those subconscious money limitations and money beliefs, and is to become financially literate. Those two things are the answer to your money problems. You do those without working any harder, money's going to completely start changing for you. Now, there's another money myth that has to do more with business. And the money myth of business is that for business owners, self-employed business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever name that you resonate with, we'll just call it entrepreneurship and business. So the biggest money myth of entrepreneurship and small business is that we get wealthy and we create financial freedom in our business. I work primarily with entrepreneurs. So I talk to entrepreneurs every single day on the phone in my classes and the breakthrough calls and peer type connection calls and referral calls. So I'm on the phone every single day, somewhere between 3 and 5 hours a day. I mean, I talk to thousands of people per year in these types of calls. And what I hear in entrepreneurs, let's put the entrepreneur brackets around that. What I hear, whether it's said explicitly or implicitly, is I'm going to get wealthy through my business. So I need to build this great big business in order to have enough money. And that really falls in line with the other myth that the answer to all my money problems is to make more money. They're kind of one and the same. One's just more fundamental and one is said more inside the framework of business. So that's a myth. So if that's the myth, what is the truth? The truth is that wealth and freedom are not created in your business. Wealth and freedom are created in your household. So what that means is we're hustling in our business, spending more money, taking more risk, working longer hours, buying the next product or program, doing all the things to try to make more money because that's the answer to all of our problems, remember, to make more? Without realizing, because we want to be wealthy and we want to create financial freedom and we want to have enough and we want to be rich, like whatever that is. And so we're after that in our business, trying to make more money without realizing that our business has little to do with our wealth and financial freedom creation. Our wealth and financial freedom are created in our household. And that's really important to understand this. Our wealth and financial freedom are not created in our business, in our small business. They are created in our household. How it works is this, is we have our business is entity A, and we have our household, which is entity 2. Our business is designed to make money. So if you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you don't like money and you don't like counting money and you don't like talking about money and you don't like tracking the money, you shouldn't be in business. And that's a hard thing for me to say, but that's the truth. That if you're going to be an entrepreneur, gosh darn it, you got to get good with money. You got to love it. You want to count it. You want to see it. You have to know how to flow it. You have to know how to run a profit and loss. You have to know how to run a balance sheet. You have to track your cash flow. Business is the game of money. So if you're in business, you better get good at money, period, end of story. But the thing is once you do that, it's still not about wealth. It's about income. And I'm going to show this to you through the rest of the presentation, but just to understand the mindset here. So your business is, you work in your business and you create money in the business, and a portion of that money that you create in your business, you get to keep. And that in business terms is called profit. But that profit then you move to your household. So your business is just about making money. It's an entity A to make money. You have to spend money in your business to make money in your business, but that's all it's for in financial terms. It's got the intrinsic values like to make impact and to help others and to live our purpose and passion. That's all great, but you don't have to have any of those and still make great money in your business. So, from financial speaking, your business is about making an income. The money left over from the money that comes in and the money that goes out is left over is called profit. That becomes your income. It's just business, meaning you're selling widgets and you're spending money to make and market and sell the widgets, and then you're keeping the money left over. But your business is a bunch of widgets. That's as emotional as it is. You have good days and bad days, and days you want to scream because, the marketing strategy is not working to sell the widgets, or you have an employee problem that's a bit frustrating. So I'm not saying that money's absent of emotion, but it's all business about buying and selling widgets and producing widgets. So then the money you keep from left over after selling all those widgets, you move from your business over to your household. Now, this is where money gets emotional. It's in our household that we feel the money because we make it, and now we're married and we feel it because now we're arguing over it or something, because now it's got this charge because the husband and wife see money differently or have different values or different backgrounds, or one's a saver, one's a spender. So all of a sudden money in our households become emotional, might be, just in the marriage, but also it's emotional in a positive sense. It's like, that's where we spend the money. We put the money, but that's where we spend the money on life. It's our household where we take the African vacation, or we take the kids to the Disneyland. It's in the household where we live in our home, where we have all the memories in our home and get to, experience the beauty and the safety and the serenity of our home. It's in the household where we play games with the family. It's in the household where the kids are going in and out of soccer practice. All of these things cost money, but they all happen in the household. So that's where life happens. Money is emotional in the context of life in our household. And it's in our household where we either create wealth and financial freedom or we don't. I'm going to show you how that works, but I just want to end there to say that these are two very different entities. And one is about making money, and the other is about spending money and creating joy and happiness and wealth in the household. All right, you guys got that? Make sense? Shake your head yes. All right. So one final thing on this slide is that where the myth is that we create financial freedom and wealth in our business, the truth is no, it's created at home, and I'm going to show you why that's the truth. But also what we don't realize is, again, when I'm talking to all these entrepreneurs who come to me for help, is what they don't realize is that their business is their biggest threat to wealth. So they think it's a creator of wealth, and their business is actually eating their wealth up. So this is what's happening under the surface, that, that iceberg underneath that you can't see. Our business is chomping away at our wealth, ability to create wealth, and we don't even realize it. All right, so put in the chat box, what is wealth? So I just said the myth is that we think that wealth and financial freedom are created in our household. But what is wealth, and how is it different than business? So if that's not true, what is wealth and how is it different than business? So Lily says health and net worth. Anyone else? What is wealth? All right, so Lily's onto this. Lily's freedom, awesome, Chris. Yeah. So yes, wealth is net worth, and wealth is freedom, and wealth is abundance. Yeah, so these are all what's the word? Like abundance and freedom. Yes, those come from wealth, but what is wealth? Wealth creates the freedom and abundance. Freedom and abundance is a byproduct of wealth, but what is wealth? So the reason why I'm asking this is because raise your hand if you want to be wealthy. Raise your hand if you want to have wealth. So we're all saying we want to be wealthy, financially free, abundant, but we don't know what wealth is. So does it stand to reason that we might have a difficult time creating wealth and being wealthy if we don't know what it is? So I have a little exercise for you. And if you have a piece of paper or something, just do this along with me, because again, doing this exercise is a little bit eye-opening. All right, so here's the exercise. I'm waving my magic wand, and the magic wand, I put a spell over you, and now you can no longer make an income. So starting today, you can no longer make an income. All right. So first step is feel what that feels like. That what would happen if today was your last paycheck? Write that down for a second. Just if you have a pen and paper, write down what you would do or what the situation would be if today was your last paycheck. And I do this exercise because it's really important that we connect to this place of what it feels like if today were our last paycheck. Because there will be a day when it will be your last paycheck. There's going to be a day that you want to retire. There's going to be a day that you just don't want to work this hard. But there will be that day. And that day you might think is far away, 10, 20, 30 years from now. But I can tell you that we don't know when that day is going to come. When I got sick, I thought I was perfectly healthy. 3 days before I completely broke down and my body gave up on me, I ran a marathon. I thought I was the pinnacle of health. I was running marathons. I was successful. I looked good. Nothing on the outside appeared to be wrong. And then I broke. And when I broke, everything broke. Mental, physical, emotional, psychological. I was out. And it happened so fast. And I didn't have the ability or capability to be able to work. I could not work. I could not get out of bed. I lost my ability to think. I lost my ability to talk. I couldn't barely leave the house. I mean, I was bedridden. And even if I wanted to, I couldn't do anything. So one day I was fine, and the next day I was out. One day I was making $1 million a year. The next day I was making zero. So we don't know when that day is going to come. And again, all these conversations I have on a regular basis, I hear all the time, like my mother got sick, or I got sick, or my husband got sick, or my kid got sick. And these life events take us out of the game all the way, like me, or just where it's just difficult to go run your business when you have crisis at home. So that's really important. So today's your last paycheck. So what we're trying to determine is to answer your question, how wealthy are you? So now, can't work anymore. Step 2 is now just take a moment and think of what you're worth in the sense of like what you could sell that would amount to cash. Because we have to have cash to be able to pay our bills. The electric company, they want cash to, to pay our electrical bill. The grocery store wants cash to buy our groceries. To live month to month requires transfer of cash. In other words, if I have a piece of real estate over there, I can't use my piece of real estate to be able to pay my grocery bill. So think of, though, in terms of what you own, that if you sold it, how much it would be worth. Now, here's a caveat. You can't sell your house because you need someplace to live. And let's say you can't sell your car because you need something to drive. So out of all the other stuff, look around, like what could I sell? Maybe my furniture, but I still want furniture, so I don't want to sell my furniture. But do you have any money in an IRA or 401k? Do you have money sitting in some bank accounts? But it's basically to tally up everything that you own that you could sell and determine how much that is. So let's say, for sake of the exercise, and step three is to write down how much it costs to live your life every month. All right, so wave a magic wand. From this day forward, you can never earn an income again. Next step is that you add up everything that has worth that you could sell. The next step is to write down how much money it costs to operate your household every single month. All right, so now let's pretend that, and part of the rule is you can't downgrade your lifestyle. In other words, you don't want to downgrade. You want to live your current lifestyle or better. All right, so this is how we calculate how wealthy we are. We take how much the sellable value of all that stuff that we have divided by the cost of our lifestyle. So let's pretend that we have, just to make the math easy, let's pretend that our lifestyle costs us $10,000 a month. And that if we sold everything that has value outside of our house and our cars and stuff that we have to use on a day-to-day basis, everything's worth $10,000. So it means if we sold everything, we'd have $10,000, and our expenses are $10,000 a month. So if today was your last day of being able to earn an income, how stressed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, not stressed at all. 10, freaking out. You're at a 10, right? Thank you, Brad. So 10 exclamation. So you're at a 10, you're freaking out. Like, what do? Now you have no option but to sell the house and the cars, and you're wondering who you're going to go live with. Now let's change it. Let's say your expenses are $10,000 a month, but you have $60,000 sitting around. How less stressed are you between situation 1 and situation 2? Are we less stressed on a scale of 1 to 10? So yeah, Lily says less. So maybe we're like a 7 versus a 10, or a 5 versus a 10. But what that is that 6 months, is time. That time is security. That time is room. So what the exercise could be is like, hey, I was told I could never work again, but I have 6 months to figure things out. Now, and maybe it's like, there's a different rule that I can say, I can't work, but maybe somebody else can. Like, you can solve that problem because you have time. You're not in a desperate situation. Now let's push out more. Let's just say that you have $240,000. How many months can you last? You can last 2 years. So now on a scale of 1 to 10, knowing you have 2 years to figure this situation out, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed are you? So that distance is called wealth. So you're either 1%, 1 month wealthy, 6 month wealthy, 12 months wealthy, 24 months wealthy, but do your exercise and determine how wealthy you are. But that's what wealth is. Wealth is the distance between how long you can go and your bills are covered, because you've got money sitting around that can cover the bills. That's what wealth is. So part of being in the wealth game, as opposed to the income game, a wealth game now, we're taking our focus off of making more money and hustling harder and working harder and trying to just make more money. That's not the focus. Yeah, we're still working hard and making money, but it's not the focus. We move the focus from income to wealth creation with, I want to be wealthier. I'm 3 months wealthy now, and I want to be, I'm looking forward to being 24 months wealthy, then 36 months wealthy, then 48 months wealthy. and then 60 months wealthy, and on and on and on and on. And you just keep getting wealthier. And so over this 40-year timeline that I've been talking about, that's our job, is we're working in our career and to make money, and we're building wealth over time to increase it, to go from zero wealth when we're 25 to a place when we're at a certain age where we will never run out of money. And that's what financial freedom is, means that the assets cover the cost of our lifestyle in a way that we'll never run out of money. And that's our job as adults, is to create wealth, to grow the wealth, to use this 40-year timeline to grow our wealth to a place we will never run out of money. And that's the financial freedom game. And if you don't understand that's what financial freedom is, and you don't understand that that's what wealth is, and therefore you just keep working in your money business to try to make more money, and you never grow wealthier, extending those months, you wind up at 50, 60, 70 without being any wealthier than when you were 20, 30, or 40. So I hope this is soaking in. Like I'm spending a lot of time here to really help understand the reality of what money is and what wealth is, and how wealth is different than just, selling widgets to try to pay our bills at home. All right. So if anybody wants to put in there, write down how wealthy you are. If you want to share, if you want to keep it private, that's okay. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to just real quick talk about business. So business is basically an operation. It's a system. And business has these different parts. Right now, Brad knows this to be true because he lives with me. I've spent probably the last 10 days, at least 10 days, maybe more. Brad will know better than I. But I've spent 10 days waking up around 5 a.m. and sitting at my computer and working till about 6 p.m. for 10 days straight, including weekends. And I'm writing a business course. I have something right now that I teach. It's called Curbs for Business. And I teach sales. I teach self-employed or entrepreneurs how to become profitable business owners. And part of my study, I studied a decade of business. I have a business degree. And so I've been writing this business course to teach how to build six-figure profitable businesses that are sustainable, that create wealth. So that's what I've been doing. I'm writing this course. It'll probably turn into a book because I've just been putting countless hours into this. So I'm letting you know this, that if you need help in business to move from self-employed to having a real business that's leveraged and throws out widgets as intended, then let us know, because I'll be filling the class. So the next business class, business school, is going to start in April. And I teach you how to turn your business into money. Again, when we don't understand business like money, we work real hard and we spend all this money and we're barely making anything. So, but we don't understand that business has all these different parts, and all these parts in our business need to work, and they need to work together. And that's what this business course is that I'm writing. I already have it, but I'm upgrading it. So that's business. Business is a system and it's an operation. And to be business owners, that means we own a business that we build. And that is what our job is of business owners, is to build this thing here. And at the very right of this slide, it says profitability. And that's our job, is to build profit and to build six-figure profits or seven-figure profits or whatever that is. But ultimately, the profit for our business needs to match how much we want to spend in our household. But that's a business course. But most entrepreneurs enter into this thing called business and haven't taken a business class and don't understand the fundamentals. And then they wonder why they're not making money. All right. So Lily says, I asked for business school back in 2015. I was directed to B school. would much rather have done something with Krisstina. Ah, thank you. Lily, you're awesome. B School has some good stuff, but again, B School is more about marketing. So what a lot of the mistakes were, again, this is a little off topic, but just because Lily wrote this, because we don't understand business and money because we haven't been taught, we're easily sold the wrong things. So what we're buying when we're trying to invest, let's say in things like B School, which is Marie Folio's course, it has great things in it. Don't get me wrong. Like she's done very well with B School and things, but what we're doing is we're trying to buy money. So what happens is we want to start this business. And then so we buy things that will help us make money in the business. And usually what we're buying is something called marketing. And with this belief that if we just understand marketing, meaning we can generate enough new business, that new business that we generate from this thing called marketing is the answer to all of my money problems in the business. And so it's just in the next marketing thing. So then B School is mostly about marketing and how to market and position and how to do launches and how to do these marketing pieces of the business. But if you see on this slide here, marketing and sales is just one piece. If we just learn that one piece really well, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a profitable business. And again, this is where one of the biggest mistakes are. And so entrepreneurs just keep buying the next thing to try to make more money without understanding that they have to build this business thing, this business system and operation. And that ultimately is what's going to make us a lot of money. All right. And thank you, Lily. All right, so just a couple statistics here when it's on business is that 75% of business startups fail. So that means only 15% of businesses that start actually continue. And then 50% of those are fail within 3 years. And I don't know what percent it makes it beyond 3 years, but when you start cutting down the numbers, it's a very small percentage of businesses that succeed. And when I succeed, what I mean by succeed is that it can be a primary income of a household. So now here's what's crazy is it looks around with all these people selling stuff to us on the internet when it comes to our business. And everybody looks like they're making so much money and they're saying, go from 5 figures to 6 figures to 7 figures. And they're teaching these things like they've done it. And I don't know whether they have or haven't. Most of them haven't. I get to see a lot of the books. But here's the thing that only 15% of all businesses of any size make over $100,000 per year. That's revenue. That's not profit. That means that at $100,000 revenue, the average business owner, kind of self-employed business owner, makes $60,000. That's the average. So again, like the average is $60,000 when you look at all the millions of businesses around us. The average income from a business is $60,000. Raise your hand if that's enough money to run your household and to work as hard as you do as a business owner for 60K. It's a nice stepping stone if you're starting, but ultimately we're usually looking for more, at least $100,000. So when you make $100,000 revenue of your business, which is the first step of a business, you're in the 15%. And then we want to go from $100,000 revenue to $100,000 profit, which is stage 2 of a business. There's these stepping stones. So to go from like 5 figures to 6 figures can be deceiving because ultimately we need to know what these percentages are. Now here's the thing. 15%, I'm trying to think, the 15% earn over $100,000 a year, that's revenue, that's right. And then it's only 10% of those that profit $100,000. That means 10% of business owners pay themselves more than $100,000 a year. So you see where these percentages are really small. And then only 1% of all businesses are 7-figure businesses. So I'm just sharing these statistics so that you know, when they're making it sound so easy to build a 7-figure business, only 1% of all businesses actually hit those numbers. Now, it's absolutely possible, but the difference between the 1% and the 99% is you have to understand business. That if you're going to pay yourself $100,000 or more, and if you have even a bigger ambition to be a 7-figure business, you can't do it without getting good at business as a whole. Just mastering marketing is not going to get you there. But the statistics are pretty staggering. I mean, I'm just shocked that these are the real numbers, because when you look around, it seems like everybody's making $1 million. All right, so now when we go to personal finance, that's business, 15% of all families earn over $100,000 per year. So again, we think everybody's making millions or making hundreds of thousands, but 6 figures is top 15%. So if your household is bringing in 6 figures, if your business is paying you 6 figures, you're in the top echelon of business and financial success on an income side. Now, only 1% of households earn more than $250,000. It's actually 5%. Only 5% of households earn more than $250,000, and only 1% of households earn over $400,000. And less than 10% are have over $1 million net worth. Yeah, over $1 million net worth. So I just share these statistics because I think they tell a story that what the truth is, the reality, that if we look to our left and we look to our right, both sides probably have financial problems. 55% of marriages end in divorce, as we know, and the number one reason is money problems. Number 2 is infidelity. So money is a problem everywhere, and we think everybody else has it figured out, but guess what? They don't. The statistics prove it. So that's why we're here. Congratulations. So we can beat the statistics. We can beat the averages, and we can be successful in our business by learning business skills, and we can be successful at home by learning just basic personal finance skills. All right, so now this is what we came for, is what ESI. All right, so I'm going to see, can you guys see the board? Let me see if this is going to work. It seems far away to me. All right, so this is called ESI. So when it comes to this, and I was going to say this is just for entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, what I mean by entrepreneurs is you don't work for somebody else. It's a W-2, but it still works for W-2s, just a little shift. So
You need to stop sharing.
okay, let me see if I stop sharing, if that helps. Does that help? All right, so I'm going to see if this is going to be big enough. Okay. All right, so I can't see my own screen. All right, so yes, you can see this. All right, so this is E. Now, E means earn. So earn, this is, we earn money. So we can earn money as a W-2, or we can earn money as a 1099 or a K-1. So basically there's 2 ways. We work for somebody else as a W-2, or we work for ourselves and or we get like investment income. So that's earn. So when we go from W-2, I'm going to show you. I'm going to keep it on. So there's something called, and this again, this is the business side, but what happens is there's this grid, and this is called the cash flow quadrant. And this is from Robert Kiyosaki. So when I said, when I was, down and out and, about 35 and just divorced and single mom and had nothing, the first book that I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And the follow-up book was called Cash Flow Quadrant. Those were my initiation and introduction to money in a way that it blew my mind, because I didn't realize there was so much to know about money that I didn't know. But this was one of the things that really opened my eyes as well. And it's called cash flow quadrant. And basically what this says is that we start many times our career as an employee. So E stands for employee. And employee means we work for somebody else. So we work, we deliver value, and we get a paycheck. We trade kind of our time for money, but that's the exchange. We have very little control or autonomy over how much money we make. Within that context, we can ask for raise, different things, but there's a ceiling, and then we have to go learn more skills or change jobs in order to try to have any influence over our income. So at some point, what happens to many of us that then leave this box, we think we want to call ourselves an entrepreneur. So then we're like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to work for somebody else. But what we do is we move from what's called E to S. And S means self-employed. So self-employed is just that, means I'm employed by myself, for myself. And most entrepreneurs get stuck here in self-employment. And self-employment, basically, you're hustling hard, but self-employed means just that. You're one person. You're trying to do it all. And you are still trading time for money, and you're wearing every single hat. So usually what happens when people move from E to S, they actually make less money, but they work more. So they're making less and working more. And this is self-employed. You have to do everything when you're self-employed. And they're using all of their savings. And they're getting into credit card debt. And so there's financial situation where they thought they're going to go create a better financial situation for themselves. They created a worse one. And again, talk to people all the time, and they're getting into massive credit card debt and different things because not getting any traction or leverage because they're stuck in this box. And again, it's still time for money. So this is the failure. This is where the failure rate is. So many go back to work or do whatever they're going to do or just get stuck here. But again, this is where the average income is $60,000. So now what we want to do is we want to move from S to up here. And this is called the business owner. So this is going back to the other slide where business owner means we own something. We own this entity. We own this system. We own this operation. But a business means we own this thing that kind of runs without us. It has its own personality. It's like another child, but it's something that's out there that we own, and we come in and run it and operate it. We grow it and we pull the levers. But this means we're working to own something. And business owner, there's 12 pillars. I call them pillars, or kind of building blocks of the business. So we have to build the infrastructure, and this is what I'm writing right now, of the business of these 12 pillars. And this is, we're taking, over time, we're building out this business. And first we want to get to $100,000 revenue, which might be around $60,000 of profit. And then we want to go to be $100,000 profit, which means it might be $300,000 or so revenue. And we just want to keep going. And maybe you have an ambition to be $1 million, 7-figure business. But we grow our money over time by building our business over time. So the money tends to grow as the business grows. And again, but this is our job. We're not just hustling, trying to sell the next widget. And this is a lot of service, is that self-employed is a lot of real estate sales. It can be an attorney that works by themselves. It can be a dentist that kind of works by themselves. It can be a coach. It's a marketer, like all these self-employed things. But a business means we're going to have employees, and we're going to have all these parts of the business. And the idea is that then our time is leveraged. So we get our time back, and we start making more money as these business systems start working. So this is going from here to here, which is now we're going to be in the top 10 to 15% of all income earners when it comes to entrepreneurship because we're in this box. So this is great. Let's just say in this box, we've got a really great business is providing a nice 6-figure, 7-figure income, whatever your ambition is. And that's great. But a lot of then business owners that I work with, my job, what I do for my curves for business is I take kind of self-employed and move them into this box. And that's what we build. But what we have to understand is that this box isn't enough. Ultimately, we want to get to what's called the I. And the I means investor. Because it's here in this box, which is where wealth lives. So this, in this box is wealth and financial freedom. And this is where our money makes us money. This is where business makes us money. This is where we try to make money on ourselves. That's why, like, this is time for money. Dollar in, dollar out. But this is where our business makes money. So that's great. We get some time back. But again, we're still in the business. We're still working every single day. So you see, again, this is where I said wealth and financial freedom is not created in our business. It's in this box. So we want to create wealth, and we create wealth and financial freedom by learning to have a surplus and start putting money away and growing this to where our money starts making our money. And this is the what's called the cash flow quadrant. Is we want to start moving, but we want to move from this side of the box, this side of the grid, to this side of the grid. And during, again, our 40 years as an entrepreneur, we're growing and building our business to make more money, and we're taking a portion of that money and we're starting to grow our wealth. But it's to understand that these are all different quadrants. And this is the wealth game. That's the money game. So now if we go back to ASI, is that, again, we earn money. So in business, as entrepreneurs, we build this thing called a business, and this business sells widgets, and it makes something called revenue. So if it sells 100 widgets at $1,000, then we have $10,000 of revenue for that month. So that's revenue. Now there's something we take out of that, which is called cost of sales. And cost of sales means it costs us $50 per widget to produce it. And so that's $5,000. And that means if we subtract 5,000 from the 10,000, we have 5,000 left over. Then we have something called business operating expenses. And let's just say those are $2,000 a month. So that means we have $3,000 a month left over. Actually, my math is a little off. It should be 100,000, but you get the point. So we collect revenue. There's a cost to whatever we're selling. We take that off, and then there's these expenses. And so we have the money left over, and that's called profit. So I'm just going to make up a number here. I'm going to say at the end of the year, you have $100,000 of profit. Let's just say that you made $200,000. It cost you, between these two, it cost you $100,000 to operate your business. And so you have $100,000 left over. So this $100,000 is called profit. Now what we do is you move this profit over to your household. So this is a business account where you manage, where you track all the money coming in and all the money coming out, and you pay yourself. This becomes your income. It's your profit. So now you pay your household $100,000. Now, what typically happens for most of us is that we pay ourselves $100,000 and the cost of our lifestyle costs $100,000. So we have zero left over. But when we want to create wealth, we take the $100,000 from our business, from being a business owner, $100,000, and we take out, let's say, $20,000. We have $80,000 left over. This $80,000 is what we can live our lifestyle off of. This can be our annual bills. But we take this $20,000 and we go over here to portfolio. And over time, we do $20,000 per year times 20 times, let's say 40 years or whatever number. Let's just do 20 years. And now that equals our net worth. And let's say that's $3 million. So this is how it works. And so what we're doing, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back on the slide here. So what we're doing is this, is that we are moving our money like this machine, and this is called the cash flow machine. So it's all about profit. So our job as a business owner is to understand the money in the business and to see that in our business, we sell widgets and we generate revenue and we take out cost of sales and business expenses, and what's left over is called profit. And let's say that's that $100,000 of profit. How we build wealth then? We cannot, if you make $100,000 in your business and you spend $90,000 running the business, you'd only have $10,000 left over. That doesn't make sense. So you have to get really good at managing the money so that you're profitable enough. So you earn $200,000, it costs you $100,000 to operate the business, you have $100,000 left over. So now we move that $100,000 from our business, and we move it over to our household. And S stands for spending, and this is how we spend our money. And how you spend your money in your household is the difference between being wealthy and broke. And we don't know this. And how you do that is there's this thing called Parkinson's law, and Parkinson's law says expenses will always rise to match income. So what happens is that we went from making $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year. We move that money to our household, and our household expenses go from $50,000 a year to $100,000 a year. That's called expense creep, or it's called the Parkinson's law. So what you have to do is we have to create profit in our household. And the only way to do that is we have to manage our money. We have to pay attention. We have to track all the money in and track all the money out. We have to spend time with our money. We have to get good with it. We have to understand it. And there are these 4 principles of money. I teach this in my my 4 principles masterclass. So if you want to learn the 4 principles to wealth creation, watch that one. It's on YouTube. But to go from real quickly, here are the 4 principles to be wealthy, to be rich. Number 1, you have to know your numbers. You have to know how much profit's enough in my business to be able to pay myself enough. How much money do I need to invest on an annual basis? How much does it cost to live my lifestyle? How much money do I have to save to make sure I have enough for a rainy day? How much do I have to pay in taxes? So principle number 1 is you have to know your wealth numbers. Principle number 2 is you have to create a surplus. So all these pinks here on this slide is surplus, because surplus is what makes you wealthy. If you don't have any surplus, you will never be wealthy. The third financial principle says that in order to create surplus, you have to manage your money. So that's managing money. You have to manage your money in your business so that you don't overspend in your business. And you have to manage your money in your household so that you don't overspend in your household. The difference between me and you, assuming I'm financially free and you're not, is that I manage my money and I know my numbers and I create a surplus. That's the only difference. I know my numbers. I'm very clear on my numbers, how much money is enough, how much it costs to run my life, how much I need to invest on an annual basis, how much money I need to earn in my business in order to cover all of the, cover my lifestyle and the money I need to invest. I create a surplus and I manage my money very intentionally to make sure I create enough surplus to be able to hit all those numbers. It's the only difference, those three things. So when I say manage your money, you're managing it in your business to create as much pink there as possible. And then you move the money from your business, take out the taxes, and you move that $100,000 to your household. Now, that profit first is this money that I call pay yourself first. Meaning right off the bat, if you're paying yourself $100,000, you take 20,000 out and you put it in a different bucket. You move it into a different account. It's not your money. That's the money you're going to put in that investor category so you can start to build wealth. So if you don't have any pink in your household, you're month to month. Or if you don't have enough pink. So what you're doing is you're creating surplus, meaning you're spending less than you make. The secret to getting rich is spending less than you make. So if you put $20,000 away every single year, you make 100 and you put 20,000 away, you're going to have plenty of money in 20 years. So if you start at 25, you're financially free at 45. Where most 45-year-olds are still living month to month and life got really expensive because their kids are going to college and all the other things they didn't save for college and they keep waiting to put off investing until maybe they're 55 when the kids are out of college, and it goes on and on and on. So you're taking your pink from your household and then you're moving that over to your portfolio and you invest that pink into to build your net worth, to grow this portfolio, to buy these assets. And over time, over that 40 years, remember, you're working to increase your assets and pay down your liabilities so that this margin, that profit grows in your portfolio on your balance sheet. And that profit, that difference between assets and liabilities is called net worth. And your net worth is your wealth. It's just a financial term for wealth. So your personal net worth tells you how wealthy you are. It tells you, hey, I'm a millionaire because I have $1 million net worth. I have 3 million, $5 million. So there's the net worth number. And then there's how much money it pays you. That is the second part to it, is that I'm wealthy enough because that my assets throw off enough money to be able to cover a portion of my lifestyle. So let me ask you this. I've been talking a lot, so this is time to put something in the chat box. How would life feel right now if the I at the very right-hand side over here, that third gear, if you had enough money in that gear that paid you, this is your money paying you, that paid you enough to cover your mortgage and your car payments? So how would it feel if the money from your portfolio covered your total mortgage, your total car payment, and let's say all of your groceries and gas and just the basics? Let's just say it covers your survival expenses. It covers a roof over your head, your car that you drive, the gas, the insurance, your food and groceries. That's it. So how would it feel? Let's see. Oops. All right. So I think I say great on there. All right. So it's just to understand that that's our first goal in this. When we go back to our cash flow quadrant, hopefully you see how these all start working together. Our first goal is to start creating this situation where our first wealth goal, our first wealth goal is to have a 6-month rainy day fund. Our second wealth goal is that we start to build our portfolio in a way that it provides enough to cover our mortgage and our car, like just our basic living expenses. And then your third wealth goal, then after that is like, I'm off to create financial freedom. So just to understand that we have this 40-year career, we're somewhere along that timeline. So whether we have 40 years to go, which I don't think there's any 25-year-olds here, 25 or 30, but wherever we are to look, we can look 20 years forward. Let's say we're halfway through our career. So we have this next 20 years of our career of where we're still working, we're working hard, we're making money, but we're going to use this next 20 years to extend that wealth timeline, how wealthy we are from 6 months to 24 months to infinity months. And that's what wealth creation is in financial freedom. And this is how we do it. We have to move the money, the pinks. We have to move that pink money across the game board from our business through our household into our portfolio and our assets so that they can grow. And ultimately, we want enough profit in our portfolio that covers the cost of our lifestyle. So if we have $2 million, let's say in that third gear, there's a rule of thumb that says basically every $1 million is worth about $50,000 of income so that you never run out of money. So that means $2 million will then cover your household lifestyle of $100,000. So then you reverse engineer to say, hey, how much money do I have to invest on an annual basis for 20 years to be able to have $2 million by the time I want to be financially free, to have my money, my assets paying me that 100 grand. So I've shared a lot. I hope I've been succinct enough where you follow, because the fourth principle, the first money principle is that you have to know your numbers. The sixth money principle is you have to create a surplus. The third money principle is you have to manage your money in order to create a surplus, track every dollar, love your money, have a great relationship with it. And the fourth money principle is you have to put your money to work, because wealth is created through compound interest, not your hard work. There's something called the rule of 72. If you don't know what the rule of 72 is, that's just an indicator you're not in the wealth game, because anybody that's after wealth loves the rule of 72. But the rule of 72 basically tells you, based on compounding, by calculating compound interest, how many years it will take to double your money to double its money itself. So if you take 72 divided by 10%, it means your money will double in 7.2 years. If you get 20% returns, you cut that 7.2 years into 3.4 years. So that's why when you get in the wealth game, I love playing the wealth game, because if I can be smart about how I invest my money and I can get 20% returns, let's say on average, not saying I can, but if I could, I do most of the time, but if I could, then my money doubles itself every 3.4 years forever, as long as I can figure out how to get those returns. My hard work and my body can't double my income every 3 to 4 years, that profit. So that's the big takeaway. Most of us are working so hard and we're not getting anywhere because we don't understand these basic financial principles. We don't have business skills. We don't have these kind of what I call just fundamental money knowledge and skills. And we just work hard for 40 years without much to show for it by the time we're 55, 65, and so on. So the good news is that it's actually really easy to start turning around and start getting these things to work, because it's all mechanics. And money is very mechanical. And once we understand the mechanics, then we can start getting control of our money. And the mechanics are this, that over time, over that 40 years, we're continuously working to increase our income, and we're working to manage our expenses. But what we're doing is that how this grid works here, it's understanding, again, some really basic finance, but income is the money we earn. Now, what happens, the reason why over time, those 40 years, we don't build wealth is because as our income goes up, our liabilities go up too. That's the problem. So we make more money and we get a more expensive house. A mortgage is a liability. We make more money, we get more expensive car payments. The car payments are a liability. We make more money, we put more on the credit cards. Those credit cards are liability. Maybe we make more money, we go back to school or whatever, and now we have bigger student loans. So we're not, this is the wealth mechanics. We're working opposite to wealth creation. So over this time span, we continue to earn more money, but the goal is to pay down the liabilities. And the liabilities get paid off, the expenses go down. And while we're working to make more money and pay down the mortgage, pay off the car payments, pay off the credit cards, pay off the student loans, don't get any more personal debt, our expenses, and we don't continue to increase the cost of our lifestyle by taking on more debt. If we pay off all the debt, our lifestyle usually isn't that expensive. So those expenses go down, and we use that difference between our money going up, the income going up, and the expenses and liabilities going down, and we put that surplus, that pink, into buying more assets. And then those assets create more income, and that income can pay off more liabilities, and the expenses go down. You put that more money into more assets, and now you have 3 or 4 streams of income. And this is mechanically putting money to work by understanding the basics of a profit and loss. You need a profit and loss in your business, and you need a profit and loss in your household, and you need to understand a balance sheet to really be able to monitor your assets and your liabilities with the goal that your assets will increase and your liabilities go down. Everything that I've taught to you today is all you need to know. I mean, there's nuances and there's different levels of skill, maybe in each one of these categories, but ultimately, so I'm saying I hope you followed, because this is all you really need to know and start doing. And then just, you do it step by step. So the final piece to close this up here today, and then I'll answer any questions, is what I call wealth tools. So when you're in the business game, to build the business that's leveraged and throws out your 6-figure profit consistently, predictably, and it grows over time, if you're going to move from here to here, you have to track the money in your business. You need to use QuickBooks. You need to track all the income. You need to track all the expenses. You need to understand what a cost of sale is. You have to understand what operating expenses are. You need to understand what profit margins are. There's not a lot to learn, but you need to know the money and understand the money and intentionally cash flow the money in your business to create that profitability. So in your business, you need to be running a monthly profit and loss. If you're not running a monthly profit and loss, you're not a business owner. You're probably just commingling the money from your, being hustling, you throw it into your personal bank account. So remember, business is a skill. And when you build this business, it's this beautiful thing that just pays you money, like an employer does. So versus working for somebody else's business that pays you money, you have a business that pays you money, but you have to build it. So that's understanding the profit and loss. You also need a profit and loss for your household. And that's how you track all the money you're putting in your house and all the money that you're paying out. In my personal finance program, my Wise Money Personal Finance, that's what we do. I teach you how to do that and create your margins. And this millionaire formula is called the 20-80-20 so that you can start to get on the wealth track. But I teach you how to, the money mindset and how to manage and track your money for that surplus so that we can start filling these buckets and getting you off that paycheck to paycheck hamster wheel. And we do something called a household profit and loss. You need to track cash flow. So cash flow is how we pay our bills. When people say money's energy, people say, I'll ask people like, what is money? And people say money's energy. It's like, not if it doesn't flow, it doesn't have any. If money's sitting in my wallet, isn't flowing. So you have to understand that for money to grow and to build and to create this energy, you have to flow it. And you're the one that's moving it and directing it and flowing it and creating it and this. So, but you have to have cash and you have to flow it prudently. You have to create cash in those different pink zones and move those pink zones so that they start working together. And if I go back here on this slide, you see, I don't think you can see my mouse, maybe you can, but you see here we move this profit from our business to our household. We put this profit in here. And what happens now, we cash flow this money, this profit, this extra money that we're creating from our assets minus liabilities. We take this cash, we can put it back in this bucket, we can live off some extra, and then we can put it back in here. And they all start working together. So this is going this way, this is going this way, this is going here. And what happens is this money just starts flowing and all these buckets start growing. But that's called cash flow, and it's momentum. And when you understand these basic concepts, you start doing this for your money, this is where the magic happens. It just starts growing and building and bubbling up and compounding and ballooning and snowballing. But we're not setting up our money in order to do that. But we have to understand how to move our cash. And then the final piece, like I said, is having the goal of wealth, and then using these tools that are called financial statements, is a balance sheet. And if you don't have a personal balance sheet, you're not in the wealth game. So you have to create one today and start watching that balance sheet grow, because your balance sheet is the tool or the financial statement that tells you how wealthy you are, how many months you have. All right, so that wraps us up today. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer. So here's the next step. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, ESI, this is the fundamental framework that I teach in everything that I do. And you have to, once you put this framework into place, your financial situation starts to change. So if you have any questions on what I taught to you today, if you want to have a money mindset or breakthrough call, or you want to inquire about my personal finance program and business program, both of which are starting in April, to get you to be this really profitable business owner and get you in the wealth game and on the path towards financial freedom, set up a call. We'll talk about the different options and see if it's a match for you. And let me help you. All right, so I'm going to, okay, so I'm going to stop share here. And Brad put in the links there just to set up. So right now, I want everybody that's still on the call to set up an appointment right now. Just go ahead and click the link, and it's a coaching call. So go ahead and click the link right now, and it'll be in your browser. So I'm going to answer any questions here. It looks like Lily has a question. So once I answer any questions, then go right now and just set up that call. Because if you think about it, you're not going to do it. So that's your exercise today, to set up the call, and we'll just talk, and we get to talk in person. All right, so let me see if I can read without my glasses. When did you move from a business owner to an investor? Where your time is spent in managing your assets? All right, so great question, Lily. So when I read Cash Flow Quadrant, really started to understand this and started to understand money and wealth, then I didn't last long as an employee. I don't have the personality for employees. So I moved basically immediately to self-employed, and I sold real estate. And then I learned selling real estate was trading my time for money. I was hustling all the time, and I worked too many hours, and I had no leverage. I read Cash Flow Quadrant. I studied under Gary Keller, and I created a business. And I moved from being a self-employed real estate agent to being a business owner of something called Good Life Luxury back in the day, which is a real estate brokerage business. And I built this up to be a 7-figure business. And it paid me a good amount of money. So a big part of my career, now I have a business called Wealthy Wealthy, and I'm a business owner of Wealthy Wealthy. Part of what I'm doing is being in business as we speak. And this is a part of Wealthy Wealthy as a business. And so I'm in this quadrant. And I spend a good portion of my week in this quadrant, building the business, manage the business, growing the business, teaching, blah, 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 my role, and everybody else is in the business. So that's this quadrant. Now there's something down here, which is called KW's portfolio. And so I have all these assets in this thing that's looks like this, a pie chart. And this pie chart throws off an income from all of these assets, lots of real estate and other assets right here. So now there's income from this, and let's just say there's income from this. So these two incomes from the business and from the portfolio, let's say equals this amount per year. Let's see, it equals $450,000 per year. So what's interesting about this, again, once you start getting into this, is that this, again, this is taking years to do. I mean, this has only been about 10 years. Because once you learn it, you can do it pretty fast. But as this income has gone up over my career, what's always stayed consistent was taking 20% of whatever I earned and put it down here. So this started with a little bitty pie chart to begin with. And over time, it just keeps growing because I take 20% of everything I make, of the total of this plus this over time, take 20% of that and then reinvest it back into here. So over time, this just keeps growing. Now, here's what something that's really important to understand is that this business here, to make the money that this business pays me, 30 to 40 hours a week easy. Right now, it's even more because I'm writing this damn course. This here makes more money than this at this stage. And I put in, I don't know, a few hours per month. 40 plus hours a week, a few hours per month. Because your money kind of takes care of itself. And this is where you get all your time and leverage back. This business kind of still owns me, but this business doesn't. Do I need to manage it and take care of it? Absolutely. But am I still growing it? I have 10 more years to still keep growing this baby until it's completely filled up with all the assets and it's complete. And then I don't have to do this whatsoever at that point because I've hit all my numbers. So I think the time spent managing my assets is relatively small. But yes, it does require managing them, but so small compared to the amount of time it takes to run the business. And so I guess the other thing too is that when I read, to sum up that train of thought, when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and started studying wealth creation, I realized like I need to move from here to here. So I went to business school to learn business because I wanted out of this quadrant, because when I learned that you work more and make less at this, and I was burnt out, and every year I had to start over and start from zero to, sell all the houses every single year. So then I went to business school to be able to be a good business owner. And I've done really well in business, 7-figure businesses. I've done great here. And this is what I teach now. So if you want me to be your teacher through my kind of self-employed to business owner business school, call me and we'll talk about it. And I'll teach you how to be a really skilled, profitable business owner that pays you enough money and get your time back. Now, while I built this over time and learned how to do this, I was also 20% of everything I ever created here was gone to build this over time. Now, granted, it was like maybe 30 years worth, 30 years, and I lost it all twice. 2 times. So I built this, I got to a certain level of building this and then lost it all. Got a certain stage of building that and lost it all again. I'm not doing that anymore. I've learned my lessons, but the point is that I've been able to rebuild it. And here's kind of a final thing too, that everyone that I know that's rich, that's played this business investment game seriously to hit big numbers, we've all gone bankrupt or broke at least once. It's kind of built in. That's why you want to start a lot of this when you're young so that you have plenty of time to make up for it. But once you learn the skill of business, I can start a business tomorrow and build it up to be a six-figure business really easily. Like super easy, because I've done it so many times. 7 figures is harder, but can do that too. Start over. I've had to start over from scratch. Don't want to do it, but once you know, have the knowledge and skills, you just do it again. That's why we can do it so much faster the next, after we lose all our money. Because we lose the money, but we don't lose the knowledge and the skill. All right. So do we have is there an asset class? Oh, is there an asset class? Yes. So the asset class is part of my Curbs program. So where we talk about assets and how many assets and what kind of assets and assets. So yes, I do have an assets class. I love that. Thank you. All right. So you choose to do the business now and it supports the investment portfolio. Yes, it's just to understand these two things are distinct. So as you build this, you're building this. And really, when we go back to ESI, we'll complete here. You guys are awesome. You're still sticking with me. But ESI, the mindset that I teach here is the business mindset. And business at the end of the day is about money, and that money is called profit. That's what you get to take home. So this is your business. And this is learning business skills, being in the business of making big profits. This is your spend, this is your household. And what you do is you run your household like a business that's after profit. Like I said, the pink here and the pink here. And then ultimately, you have this third business, which is your portfolio. And your job here is to increase your assets, reduce your liabilities, and to grow the profit or net worth. So over this 40-year career, 25 to 65, or 30 to 70, or 40 to 80. And right now too, I don't even like the word 65 anymore because we're all gonna live so much longer if we stay healthy. And we can work well into these older ages if we want to. So, we have plenty of time, but whatever this time frame is, if it's 40 years or if we've got 20 years left that we can do this. Just under this 20 years, I call it get rich slow. Because I've only lost money on the get rich quick schemes. Every time I've tried to get rich quick, I've lost my ass, by the way. So I teach get rich slow. But over this 20 years, again, you're building your business to make higher profits, be better at business, and you're slowly investing your surplus to be able to grow your assets and to pay down those liabilities. Okay.